Canada is a multicultural nation and has benefited greatly from the waves of immigration that have come to its shores. One group that's heavily represented is the people of Ukraine. Over 250,000 Ukrainians came to Canada in the 70 years after 1891, and most of that first wave came here to Alberta. The reason? They could pick up just under 60 hectares of land for $10. Back home, the average size farm was just 2 hectares, so this Alberta offer was irresistible. Conditions were desperately hard, and farming methods were more about sweat and muscle than machinery. Ukrainians knew a lot about growing wheat in cold climates. Ukraine was one of the world's major areas for growing spring and winter wheat from the 4th century BC. Well, that skill in growing, as well as the hard winter wheat seeds, took root in Canadian soil and helped to make this country a major grain supplier. The Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Village celebrates the contribution that these immigrants have made to Canada. Existing buildings have been relocated and every effort's been made to show what life was really like in those early farming days. I was drawn immediately to their vegetable garden, which shows the varieties grown by the pioneers, and you can see a collection that's heavily biased towards Eastern European crops. Well, now I've got the produce, it's off to the kitchen. You see, I've been promised the opportunity to see these fresh vegetables turned into some famous Ukrainian fare. And I'm not missing that opportunity for quids. Beet leaf cabbage rolls and beetroot soup, also known as borscht, are on the menu, and Lessa is the chief cook. Cooked rice with dill and onion is wrapped up in the beetroot leaves. Now, these are used instead of cabbage because they've already been taken off the beetroot for the soup, so nothing's wasted from the harvest. These will be covered with sour cream and baked for an hour, during which the leaves will lose their distinctive red and green colour. Borscht is a traditional beetroot-based soup that's served piping hot. It'll be made up from the vegetables I've just harvested from the garden. My beautiful wife Sandra would be insanely jealous right now because she absolutely adores cabbage rolls. And the borscht, well, it's so good, I'm going home as soon as I can to plant out some beetroot seeds. The Ukrainian village is a brilliant day out of Edmonton, and you get a bit of a glimpse of pioneering life and at the same time the opportunity to eat some of this wonderful home-cooked food. Now, if you'd like the recipe or further information about the village, go to our website.
Canada. Snow, skiing, snowboarding, lots of snow, dog sledding, more snow. But of course it doesn't always snow here in Canada, not in summer, not even here in the Yukon, which posed quite the conundrum for me. What do the dogs get up to in summer? Well, I'm about to get on this boat and find out, and I think you want to find out too, don't you? Come on, let's go. I'm travelling across Lake Le Berge, not far from the city of Whitehorse, the capital of the Yukon, the next stop on our Canadian adventure. Larger than life and a wilderness wonderland, the Yukon is situated north of British Columbia and Alberta, with the Northwest Territories to the east and Alaska to the west. It's an area jam-packed with wildlife and spectacular scenery. On the opposite shore of Lake Le Berge, about 10 k's away, I'm meeting Ned and Janine Cathers, expert dog sledders who've both done the Sydney to Hobart of dog sledding, the Yukon Quest.
It's a 1,000-mile sled dog race between Whitehorse, Yukon, and Fairbanks, Alaska.
Wow.
And
1,000 miles.
1,000 miles long.
1,600 kilometers.
Yeah. And it started in 1984. And so I've run in it 6 times. Ned's run in it 10 times.
Wow.
And it's quite a neat event.
Sure. And you started very early, didn't you?
Yeah, I was 18 when I started.
She has the record still for being the youngest person, male or female, to run it.
So what do you do in the summer with the dogs? You obviously got to keep them fit.
Yes, we do hiking and backpacking trips, and the dogs work as pack dogs on those trips.
Together with her father Ned, Janine runs Cather's Wilderness Adventures for people like you and I, offering authentic cabins for accommodation and a whole range of summer packages, hiking, canoeing and boating through truly remote wilderness, with the sled huskies as companions carrying most of the food and gear. And if you're really keen, you can come in winter for the real dog sledding deal. This is what the dogs are hanging out for, and you can do anything from a weekend up to 10 days. Now that's serious.
They start small with maybe a 4-dog team and on easy trails, and then they sort of progress as we help them learn how to drive on the bush trails and how to handle their dogs and hitch them up and so on. So they kind of progress at their own rate a little bit and
That's
experience
fantastic.
the whole thing.
How long does it take to get to that level?
But just to drive your own team,
They can learn quite a bit in a week.
yeah.
Right, so a week's pretty standard. They have about 80 dogs here, so there's plenty to go around. And around they do go, all through the Lake Le Berge area. It goes without saying that Ned and Janine are serious dog lovers, and the dogs certainly love them too. Coming up, it's a four-wheel frenzy with a side serve of fish in Kluane National Park.